I'll speak first, if you don't mind. As a resident and as the superintendent of schools, thinking about the budget as a whole, ultimately the town budget is what Willie and all the departments on the town side present, as well as the Board of Ed budget. It is ultimately one budget that supports the services that are provided to all residents in this town. And the one benefit that I want to really address publicly is the work that our Department of Public Works does for us with regard to, particularly this last couple seasons of winter, maintaining our roads and keeping our ability to keep our schools open. We have only 5 emergency closing days this year, where most everyone else has 7, 8, or 9. And that is in large part due to the work that our Public Works Department does. In addition to that, while not a big portion of the line item, certainly our fire department provides a huge resource for us as a community, and they do wonderful things for us in the public schools as well in terms of fire support days and fire safety, etc. And then ultimately, the relationship we have with the police department is remarkable. The coordination with the chief and his staff, with our work in the schools, the collaboration that takes place at that point is remarkable. Having an SRO in the school system is a real plus for our community, for our students, and ultimately for the overall feeling, the good feeling of safety. Since a year ago, they've implemented the community policing program, where every single day in all 4 of our schools, a police officer on the beat shows up at the school, walks through, checks doors, talks to kids, talks to the administration, making sure that there is a presence in our community. And it's a powerful, positive statement that our community has made for the overall safety for all of our kids and for us. So on behalf of the Board of Ed, I want to publicly support all of the efforts that the town has put into their side of the town budget and support it wholeheartedly. Thanks.
Good evening, my name is John Olson. I live at 101 Pratt Road. At first I want to thank the Board of Finance for all the good work that they're doing and all the volunteer time that they put in. I also want to say the same for the Board of Education. I moved here 19 years ago with my wife, and I've lived in a few towns in Connecticut. And I'd just like to say that there's a quality of life that comes with this community. And you don't get anything unless you invest in it. You know, my children are grown and they're working in New York City here and also in Connecticut. And, you know, I'm on a fixed income now because I just retired. But I truly believe that if I want to live in a civilized society, if I want to see economic development, if I want to see the kind of town that has the facilities and the things that we've come to enjoy, and maybe sometimes we should appreciate them more, then we have to understand there's a cost to that. And I know that there's been a lot of struggle to try to find ways to save money, to do things better, but let me say this in 19 years. When I came here 19 years ago, this town didn't look anything like it looks like today. And I can tell you one thing, I'm proud of where this town has gone, not just our city, but the people who have moved here. And we want to continue to attract people to move here, but it's got to be a partnership between us and the government that we elect. And again, I want to thank all the volunteers, and I know there's always difference of opinions, but regardless of which side you come down on these things, I think too often people don't appreciate the time that you put in for the big pay of the 1 big zero that you all get for serving us. We can cut their budgets any more than what they get. So, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
I just want to say that that Mr. Cross's points about the Board of Education benefiting from the town is well made, and I'm going to go into it in greater depth in a second. Also, I'm not really surprised that Mr. Olson is in favor of the budget. He, as you may know, I believe was president of the AFL-CIO, the Public Employees Union. So he's very much in favor of bigger budgets, no matter how big they are. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. Is that not correct, Mr. Olson? Pardon me? Anyway. I think it's important to consider the source, and I think full disclosure is always... Anyway, the town of Clinton has continued to price itself in terms of mill rates out of the market compared to adjoining and nearby shoreline towns. The fact drives down property values further, discourages economic development that is needed to help shoulder the tax burden, and further inflates the mill rate. It is a vicious cycle. Those who attempt to dismiss these facts with equalized mill rates or per capita tax data completely miss the point. No one pays equalized taxes, nor do they pay per capita taxes. Mill rates are what determine the tax burden. If Clinton goes forward with a proposed budget, it will extend this very destructive cycle. And Clinton is the line at the top. This would be the new mill rate projected. These are the ones for the towns that are either Killingworth or on either side of us. Even though Clinton's town budget represents only 1/3 of Clinton government overall, the Clinton government overall spending, it must compete with the education budget that represents the other 2/3 of spending. And while 2/3 of the money assessed, collected, and administered by the tax assessor, tax collector, and finance director is spent on education, the Board of Education expects the town budget to bear 100% of the finance director's salary instead of the half, as has been the practice in previous years. This is a big step backwards for the town, particularly when $1.5 million was spent on expanding the town offices in the old PD to accommodate consolidation of the two finance departments in one location. Some ask why it matters whether costs are attributed to the town or to the education budgets. The taxpayers have to pay it either way. So here's why. When the Board of Education does not reflect education spending borne by the town, it is not counted toward the state's minimum budget requirement as it should be. That is why the school resource officer should be included on the education budget as a police service. The SROs should be on the education budget and be required to be DARE certified and tasked with implementing the DARE program. The elimination of the program is a direct result of bleeding the town's budgets and being a free rider on these town services. How much do these services add up to? And I've got them for the itemized, but they add up to $612,000, of which about $434,000 could reasonably be attributed to the Board of Education. If the Board of Education's fair share of these costs were shifted to the education budget, it would reduce the education budget surplus and free the town funds for more adequate public safety. One of the long-term trends that is pushing the town budgets higher with no benefit to taxpayers are Clinton's unfunded pension obligations. For example, the annual required contribution for police pensions is budgeted to increase $75,000 or 8% to $975,000. This represents 39% of the police payroll in addition for defined retirement benefits. And over 90% of what is contributed is paid out this year in benefits to current retirees. The unfunded pension obligations grow by over $1 million annually. Police and other pensions should be converted to 401ks as quickly as possible. There's another cost about which few people are aware. By contract, police employees receive 13 paid holidays issued in lump sum payments twice a year in June and December in addition to their salaries. In addition, officers who actually work on holidays receive a premium. The lump sums add up to $96,595, and the premium paid amounts to $25,350. If the feather bedding portion of this provision was eliminated, there would be adequate funding for required feet on the street and administration. As it is, otherwise unnecessary, difficult choices have to be made. Given all these factors, the Board of Finance will continue to trend a trend of budgets defeated at referendum if you insist on proposing an $853,544 or 5.6% increase in the town budget for 2014-15. Restoring amounts that the Board of Selectmen trend does not afford government consensus needed to advance this as a credible attempt at a budget that voters should approve. And I will question someone who spoke earlier about the cost of living. The cost of living index, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics, increased 1.1% over the last 12 months, regardless of how long your pretzel sticks are. The objective should be to keep any tax levy within the CPI. So, how might the budget be adjusted to achieve this objective? The capital improvements budget increased $244,500 or 67% last year. And an additional $298,000 or 49% increase is proposed in the budget this year. Keeping that flat for 1 year would have the biggest impact on the proposed budget. Accepting the police budget proposed by the Board of Selectmen would save $52,700. Trimming public works increase from 7.5% to 3.8% would save $60,000. And I might add, adding to that staff at this time is just not justifiable. Keeping the finance director's position a shared position with the Board of Education saves 90% of the increase proposed in the finance budget of $46,439,000. So altogether, these adjustments would allow you to reduce the increase in spending to 2.6%, which is only 1/3 of Clinton government spending, as Mr. Cross sort of observed earlier. So if you took that along with the education budget savings, a reduction of $689,952, and the town portion, $457,880, you would reduce the proposed. Understand, this is not a reduction in the budget. This is a reduction in the increase in the budget. This is trimming the increase in the budget by $1,147,000. And the tax levy in that case would go up, instead of 4.1%, go up 1.1%, which should be your objective. It is within the powers to propose sensible and acceptable education and town budgets to the taxpayers. Please spare Clinton another round of budget defeats.